You are on mute, Utsada. Otherwise, I cannot hear you. But
Namaste and good morning, everybody.
good morning and good morning to Maya Durga. Maya Durga,
Maya
namaste.
Durga is here today.
Yeah, she is very happy. We missed her yesterday, Utsada, at the gala. But let me welcome everyone. So, everyone, this is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is a weekly American Hindu contemporary issues show, and we come live every week on Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. That's 8 o'clock Pacific. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by HinduPACT. HinduPACT is the policy research and advocacy initiative of World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA. And we come, as we have been doing this now. Today is the 34th week. I am Jay Shah. I am the Executive Vice President and convener of HinduPACT. And with me, as always, is Utsav Chakrabarti. And Chakrabarti is the Executive Director for HinduPACT. Utsada, namaste and welcome.
Namaste and thank you for another weekend. It's our 34th Hindu Lounge show, and yesterday we had a fascinating evening. Not without its surprises and mishaps, but it was still wonderful, and we had a wonderful program, the Hindu Pact first fundraising gala, and we had about 2 hours of programming yesterday night, and we had a lot of guests. I think at least at one point between 208 to 212 people were simultaneously joined in the event, and another couple of thousand people were watching it through our broadcasting and live partner broadcasts. So it was wonderful, Ajay bhai, and I think today we are going to do some analysis of yesterday evening's programming.
So, let me correct you. And there were more than a couple of thousand people watching because there were we had three media partners yesterday, and we had a Tag TV, which is based out of Canada, but in US and Canada, and Tag TV was simulcasting it. Tag TV's YouTube channel has 260,000 subscribers, and their Tag TV's set-top box also had around 250,000 subscribers. So that was a potential of 500,000 people that we reached. We also had, we also had media partner Bharat FM, and Bharat FM is based out of Midwest. They have radio and TV shows that they started. They have broadcast radio network as well. We were live streaming on their Facebook page with thousands of viewers. And we were also we have a media partner in Dia TV. Now I don't know what the end result on the Dia TV was, but I think that we had enormous potential number of users, and the final counts are not in. And if sometimes the final counts take 2 or 3 weeks to come, right? As you know from the recent elections, the counts don't come in the next morning, and the counts that come in the next morning may be misleading. So I think we will eventually know what the exact number was. But I think we had a lot more viewers. I think we started HinduPACT fundraising on a right footing. We don't know exactly how much money has been raised yet, but I think overall it was it was a huge success. So that one you talked about mishap, I think you're referring to the fact that Representative Tulsi Gabbard was not able to make it, and we still don't know why. We have reached out, we were told that something has come up and that's why she cannot make it. We did ask her for a statement as to, just commenting on the Hindu American advocacy, and we haven't heard back yet. So we are hoping that soon we will hear back from her office and at least get a message on American Hindu advocacy, because she was the very first Hindu to take the oath on Bhagavad Gita and to become a congressperson with a lot of help and support from the Hindu community in America. And so that we also had a great panel, and Rick Mehta, who was the senatorial candidate, a Republican senatorial candidate from New Jersey, was part of the panel, and so was Vindhya Adapa, who is a lawyer, has worked in advocacy for a long time. We also had Pandit Rupnath Sharma. Pandit Sharma is from Canada and very active in Hindu advocacy in Canada, and of course Professor Raj Vedam, who's a professor at the Hindu University of America. The event was hosted by Preeti Upala, and panel was moderated by Rakhi Israni. So I think overall, a really, really great program. And I will replay a couple of things that we got two messages from two stalwarts of Hindu community in America, and we'll replay those as well as the time goes on. One from Dr. Abhaya Asthana, who is the president of World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA, and the second one was from Professor Ved Nanda, who is a Padma Shri and who is the Sarsanga Chalak of HSS in USA and the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Hindu University of America. With that, Utsada, let's just go right into it. Any comments on the Representative Gabbard not showing up yesterday?
Well, I mean, the fact that we got to know about it at the last moment, obviously, is unfortunate, and it would have been wonderful if there was a message or even a short video recording that would have addressed the issue. But things are fluid in Washington D.C. Everybody has a busy schedule, especially lawmakers like Tulsi Gabbard, and and the fact that we didn't hear from her before is a pointer to the fact that something came up urgently, and and it was good that her scheduler was part of the event, most of the event, and her scheduler, her office was attending the event, but unfortunately we couldn't get a message from her, and it was bad in that way for us. But hopefully we look forward to something happening in the future where we would have her as a guest or as a speaker, and we'll carry forward this
Right.
connect.
I think we should probably, I have a feeling that probably it was due to some COVID related bill or something in the house. But I think it's a great idea to just say, to see if she can come to one of the HinduLounge shows and we can have her as a guest here.
Oh yeah, I mean, to have somebody like Tulsi Gabbard be part of our show would be just wonderful, because we have so much to hear from her, and she has such a wide breadth of experience that she gathered over the years that she has been in the Congress, and not just been in the Congress. She was a presidential candidate. She was the only Hindu to have been a presidential candidate, and she has she's just an amazing person, and she has done amazing things in her career in the House. Uh, I have a lot to hear from her. I have questions about her experiences while traveling to the Middle East, and how she's just a person of conscience, and somebody who has followed the dharmic principles as a lawmaker. So it's wonderful if she could be part of our program, and we all look up to her in so many ways.
Absolutely. Utsada, I want to play for you one of the messages that we got. Both the messages I'm going to play for you, and I'm going to get your reaction. In the meantime, I want to also remind our viewers that if they were part of the program yesterday, and if they want to comment on the program, this is a call-in show, and I request them to dial in and have a chat with us and talk to us about the show. So please feel free to call us. I'm going to post the numbers to call in very soon. But while I do that, let me just play the video shared by Dr. Abhaya Asthana, the president of World Hindu Council of America. And here we go. Just a second. I don't know if you can see this, but The window is hidden behind here. This is the live show, so you can imagine.
Namaste. It is an honor to be with you at this gala event for HinduPACT. Over the years, we have noticed that there isn't a significant involvement of Hindu Americans in the national discourse. And this gap is the genesis for HinduPACT, a multifaceted initiative of the World Hindu Council of America, VHPA. On one hand, HinduPACT is a policy research initiative to partner with practicing Hindu scholars, gurus, community organizers to study issues facing the American society and offer views based on dharmic principles. On the other hand, it is an advocacy initiative to formulate Hindu views on contemporary American issues without taking partisan political stand. Thirdly, it is a political education initiative to educate voters, engage them, and increase voter registration. Being a grassroots effort, HinduPACT aims to identify and influence issues of interest to Hindus at all levels, train Hindus for grassroots advocacy, and create advocacy internship opportunities for Hindu youth. We value collaboration and seek to partner with community organizers, government officials, civil rights, and civil society organizations who share our values. Since its inception at the start of 2020, the team has made significant strides even during the pandemic times. My best wishes to the team and my sincere appeal to all of you to join and support with ideas and finances this important initiative. Hari Om.
So I'd like to
Namaste.
so your thoughts on and comments on what Abhayaji just said.
Well, as somebody who has known Abhayaji for more than 10 years now, he has been a pillar of support for this cause and has been advocating this effort for a long time. And he's been pushing the need for the Hindu community to have a voice in the public square for a while. And I think for him to give us his blessings as somebody who led Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, World Hindu Council of America for such a long time, it was wonderful to hear from him. And I think we are going to be learning from him as we go along. I mean, he's the elder of the family, so we look up to him, and we continue to look up to him for his blessings.
I want to next play a clip from Professor Ved Nandaji. Ved Nandaji is a Padma Bhushan, and he was one of the co-founders of Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad. Has been at University of Denver as a law professor. There's actually the law center at University of Denver has been named after him. He is the chairperson of Hindu University of America, and also in the Satsanga Chalak of HSS in US. I was so glad that Manya Nandaji was sent us his video blessings. I want to play that for you, and again get your views on that as well. So here is a message that we got from Nandaji. Let me share the screen.
I am deeply honored to pay special tribute to HinduPACT on this very, very special occasion this celebration is exceedingly important because the robust, powerful Hindu voice in this country is sorely needed. A country that at the present time is suffering from intolerance, suffering from lack of respect for each other, and that is what Hindu values are, that's what HinduPACT teaches, and my special tribute to them, and I am deeply grateful to be here with you. Thank you.
So there are two powerful messages. Please, your comments.
Again, Vednanda ji, one of the very few people of Indian origin, Hindu leaders of Indian origin in America, to have received one of the highest civilian awards for Indians. So to have Professor Vednanda speak was itself an honor for HinduPACT, and he has led the community with example, because he's one of the great educationists in America who has seen the American legal scene from top to bottom. He has inspired many leaders in America. If people remember, Dr. Vednanda was the teacher and a mentor for Condoleezza Rice, who was one of the leading lights of the American administration for almost a decade in the early part of the 2000 of this millennia. So to hear and have his blessings, to have him support us is a wonderful thing. And again, these are the people we look up to. These are the people we hope to emulate and learn from. And even though Professor Nanda is not part of major activities, given these are times when he cannot travel, and most of us are not traveling, but through Zoom, through our our social media networks, and we are always going to hear from him, and we are always going to learn from him. So I think it's a wonderful thing that he blessed this event.
Absolutely. So the one let's get into some of the components of the program. Um, Tell me, you heard all the speakers, and you were part of the program as well, and you gave a really good closing speech, and I was very impressed with that. Let's start from the beginning. The panel was very varied. I mean, there was expertise in panel that ranged from academics to community activism to political advocacy. What was your overall impression of the panel?
I think it was very well done, and kudos to Dr. Jay Bansal for putting together this wonderful panel. It had the right mix of experience and youth. It had the right mix of a variety of social and political endeavors that people came from. We had lawyers who had worked on immigration and human rights issues. We had educationists who have worked on Hindu hatred related, Hindu phobia related projects in America and in other parts of the world. We had teachers, we had priests from mandirs who has seen how the society interacts with religious leaders. So the whole event was very well done. And of course, we had Rick Mehta, who was a Senate candidate from New Jersey. So we had people who had run for elections and who has interacted with the larger American voters. So it was wonderful to see this variety that was there in terms of people's professions and their experiences. And that actually is very crucial for HinduPACT's work, because what we are planning to do, what we have started to do, impacts everybody, and it brings upon the best skills and experiences from people from different walks of life, and brings it together to make sure that Hindus have a voice in the public square, as we say. So I think the panel itself was reflective of the agendas and the goals that we profess, and I guess it was a beginning of what we are about to do.
Absolutely. So that if you don't mind, I'd like to play a little excerpt from the panel. I'll start out with with some of the comments that Rakhi Israni, who is our HinduPACT Executive Director of Legal. She's a lawyer, first elected president of Hindu Students Council. And let me just play some of her comments and get your comments. She is a second generation Hindu, born and brought up in America, and very active in Hindu advocacy. So let me play an excerpt from what Rakhi said, and then get your view on that.
Absolutely.
The spheres of influence in life are generally media, politics, education, and most importantly, the home life. We have a very exciting panel of speakers to take us through what we've achieved so far as a community, and more specifically to talk about what lies ahead for us. In the next 45 minutes, we will explore what we need to change as a community, what we need to do to create this change, to create positive change, not only for ourselves, but for all of society. There is no doubt, as has been mentioned by a couple of others in this session so far, that the Hindu community is a community with immense internal fortitude, not only in terms of our education and our financial strength, but also more importantly, in terms of our knowledge, in terms of our culture, in terms of our history. Swami Vivekananda had once said that while America has the jewel box, it's India that has the jewels. It is the essence of our spiritual knowledge and rich culture that has really truly allowed us to survive barbaric invasions and brutal attempts to destroy our society again and again over thousands of years. And yet, today, we are facing nonstop attacks and a flood of negativity against our community, and even worse, it's clearly targeted at our youth. It is these modern challenges that we seem to face on a daily basis that is the focus of our esteemed panel today. Our first...
So that your comments.
Well, this is something that that was one of the main themes throughout the evening, and this has been one of the main concerns of the community for the last, I would say, 3 years specifically, and I would say a decade going back, if not longer, that we are facing a real challenge in terms of targeted, and I underline the word targeted here, because it's being done in a very organized way, very coordinated way, with a lot of money involved in it. So we are being facing this targeted outreach to the Hindu community, especially the one that is, young and is mostly born in this country, to really prepare them to be anti-Hindu. So we face a social, media-led, sometimes even academia-led effort that targets Hindus in America and by extension around the world. So that's something that Rakhi was talking about, and I think that's one of the reasons why HinduPACT is coming together, because if we do not respond back, and much of this is malicious and often based on propaganda and lies that are pulled out of the toolbox of hate-based extremist religious schools from other religious communities. And so we have to push back on this, because in America, it's about, as we say again, having a voice in the public square. And we have to push back. And I think what Rakhi was alluding to is the need for our community to do that. And to do that, we have to have the right tools, the right education, not just emotions. And that's what, that's what we are trying to do.
And she was very eloquent. I mean, I thought she spoke really, really well. And articulated the issues very, very, very nicely.
Absolutely. And I think that is one of the reasons why people like Rakhi are going to be playing a critical role in the future of Hindu, if I can call it, fight back in America. I mean, whether by fight back, I'm not saying we are physically fighting back, but we are going to be fighting back intellectually. We are going to be fighting back theologically. We are going to be fighting back socially, and reclaiming our space in that we deserve.
Let me go to the now a little bit about the initial talk that was given by Professor Raj Vedam and get your view on that.
So today, the leftist academy and their echo chambers and media, they use imported sociological lenses. So the academia views all of Indian history with an outsider lens, casting all interactions as class conflicts using oppressor-oppressed narratives. This has resulted in a highly fractured population who are incapable of appreciating the deep cultural unity of India, and readily they adopt divisive manufactured narratives. Media and academia reinforce negative stereotypes, resulting in widespread difference anxiety in Hindus today who reject their identities. Finally, fifth, the Marxist narrative. They have controlled the education sector in India for the past 50 years, and they have purged the Indian academia of insider scholarship pursuant to their ideological leanings of socialist revolution to destroy the old order, in this case Hinduism, to replace the Marxist version of a classless society. The destruction of the emic scholarship has meant an unchallenged free run for any narrative manufactured in academia about Hinduism. So these people have wrested the adhikara for Hinduism very, very successfully. In their narrations, we cannot recognize ourselves or our shared history or our heritage, culture, practices, aspirations, or any of our lived experiences. We can safely conclude that the present day narrations shamelessly espouse hatred for Hindus and seek to destroy their identity using distortions, falsifications, and crass Hinduphobia. Unfortunately, since 1947, the socialist Nehruvian government and its allies and successors have furthered the agenda of these five frameworks by institutionalizing unjust, unequal laws that openly discriminate against Hindu identity and expression. Today, in this panel on Hindu advocacy, we should recognize the outsized power of such inimical narratives and the obnoxious role played by these five frameworks that I talked in feeding each other's biases, assumptions, methods, and conclusions. We need to devise ways to challenge and eradicate such narrations. Thank you.
Utsudha, your comments.
Again, I think there could not have been a better way to represent the huge body of work against Hindus that has been done throughout the last centuries, if I can put it that way. And Raj Vedamji was very eloquent in boiling it down to a few sentences and sharing his deep understanding of the issue. What I would like to add further to what he said is that even though he came at it from the perspective of the Indian subcontinent and the history, basically, almost 800 years of Islamic rule, plus minus 100 years or few 100 years here and there, depending on the geography, as well as then the British colonial rule, followed by the current Marxist, leftist embracing of those colonial narratives. So I think I completely agree with him from his vantage point, which was mostly South Indian subcontinent focused. But I would further add that in America, within the American academia, there is this movement. I mean, the left Marxist narrative building, not just about Hindus, but for everybody, is very strong. Whether it is the American community, whether it is European history, whether it is other minority groups' history, the left does control the narrative. What is ironic and interesting is that there are a couple of communities that have managed to break into it. And they have done it using their bully pulpit, their power in terms of money and the ability to make noise and defeat the left and take it over. So one of those communities is the Islamic community. They have actually successfully co-opted the left in America and most Western countries, as well as in India, to override the colonial narratives that the left and the Marxists used to have about them. So that is something that is very rarely discussed. And that is actually even worse for the Hindu community, because now not only you have the colonial narratives that the left brings to the table that targets us, on top of that, the left itself has been co-opted by the Islamists, who bring their core hatred of anything that is non-Islamic, especially from a civilizational perspective, and add it onto the left's colonial narrative. So it's a double whammy for the Hindus now, because now we are not only being targeted by the colonial narratives that already hated us, but a cooperation and co-option of the colonial and Islamist narrative that hates us even more and targets our youth, which is our biggest challenge here.
Very well put. So let me now go to the third presentation in the panel from Pandit Roopnath Sharma from Canada and get your view on that. So this is Pandit Roopnath Sharma.
But sadly, at the same time, we are suffering from the loss of our dharmic values. Because of our limited dharmic values, we have become very docile, sluggish, and negligent in the representation of ourselves in all facets of social, political, and most evident in the religious world. Also, most alarming, we are slowly but surely losing our greatest advocates for our culture. That is our youths. We are losing them. And we don't know what we're losing them to. They're all healthy, they're all wealthy, they're all very educated, but they don't know who they are as far as cultural dharma. The plan to change this. Major initiatives must be undertaken at all levels of our community to educate our young people in our dharmic values. We must learn from other faith traditions, such as Judaism, the value and power of educating our youths at an early age. And so doing, we must always be cognizant of the fact that we are from a great heritage that is beyond any single religious doctrine, nor not one teacher, but from a vast multitude of philosophies and from a great number of teachers that have stood the test of time and continues to be the foundation for all aspects of human well-being. And that is what we call the Hindu way of life, or Sanatana Dharma. Dr. Ved, thank you for bringing that point of how our culture was degraded and misrepresented by the colonials and all those who represent us. It is said, he who tells the story creates the culture, and they did a great job of creating a false culture. We also need a change in attitude, we Hindus. That is to move from one of being passive to consistent assertiveness. However, in order to achieve this, we need to work on changing the existing perceptions, as Dr. Vedam pointed out. The perceptions are our way of life. Here's how we are perceived. We do not make waves. We are adaptable. We don't make any special requests for praying time. We do not have a hard and fast rules about diet. There's no kosher halal meals or fish on Friday. There's this very unfounded, uneducated perception that we do not have specific time or format to pray, and we believe in many gods. Because of this limited understanding of our dharmic concept, by ourselves and the general public, we are not rooted in any basic foundational values, such as we must read our scriptures daily. Let's talk about how we interact with our scriptures. All of those on this program tonight must have one of our scriptures in their home, either Bhagavad Gita, Ramcharitmanas, a Chalisa. Well, ladies who are listening to me, if you have any money that you want to hide safely for a long time, I want you to put those funds in those religious books. They'll be there until the end of time, because no one will open those books to look to see what's inside. I assure you of that. 2, because of this perception that we lack any firm standardized practice, a large majority of Hindus are without any dharmic focus and as such are unable to come together as a single community. If we do not know who we are, it is very difficult for us to stand together. Please note, future parents and young families, that the education process does not begin with children attending classes. It actually commences with the education of the parents. This parental education is beyond the academic and has little to do with financial planning and social status. We are excellent at that kind of stuff. This education is the inculcating of the basic values of Sanatana Dharma as part of everyday life. This is achieved by teaching our children from the ages of 1 to 12 all we can do about our culture and religion. Ladies and gentlemen, after they reach 12, you have to make an appointment to see them, especially in this day and age. Our culture and religious practices are often misunderstood to be rooted in ritualistic practices. We need to highlight the
So I'll pause here, and I get your view, and then I have a specific question for you about Pandit Roopnath Sharma's presentation. and maybe you can cover that. He mentioned, and so and so did Vindhya, who will hear later. Both of them mentioned Hindus emulating the advocacy model that the Jewish advocacy groups follow. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that as well. Please go ahead.
So I think he gave a very practical and a very grassroots analysis, and based on his personal experience as somebody who deals with thousands of peoples, thousands of practitioners of Hindu Dharma on a regular basis. So I think he gave a very practical analysis of his perspective and from a grassroots level. And I think the only point I think I will kind of try to modify or fine tune from his perspective is he regularly uses the word culture to represent the values of Hindu Dharma. In my opinion, I think culture is a very superficial term and we have to slowly move away from it. And it's not, I think he used it because it's very commonly used by Hindus. Hindus love to call Hindu practices and Hindu Dharma as Hindu tradition and culture. I think these are two very shallow words, which is very dangerous for us, because for somebody who is born in America, the word culture is very superficial. It changes every 30 years. And there is nothing that can be far from culture than Hindu Dharma. Hindu Dharma is the oldest religion in the world, and oldest Dharma in the world, which has a recorded history of more than 7,000 years and continues to be the third largest religion in the world. So to call it culture is something I think that most of us, average people, are doing a great disservice to Hindu Dharma. So having said that, and I think Panditji was referring to it from the common man's perspective, because that's what common people understand. So that's one thing I think we should change and call it Hindu Dharma as Hindu Dharma, something not just a religion, but more than it. And we have to be very clear about it because the semantic matters. Yep. And having said that, I think other points that he was making are very, very valid, because part of a religion's expansion and continuation depends on the understanding of the core scriptures, along with the practices and the history and the society around it. So rituals, sacraments, all these things are critical, at least to a big segment of the population, if not all. And unlike many absolutist religious systems like Christianity or Islam, where this is core to the practice of the religion itself, Hindu Dharma offers us the freedom of not making it core to the practice of the religion. I mean, Hindu Dharma has a spectrum of philosophies going from being completely Gnostic or not, or questioning the existence of divinity, to completely theistic, where divinity, through Bhakti movement, especially Advaita, Vishishta Advaita philosophies, being very, very theistic in nature. So I think it is this variety that we have to respect. At the same time, we have to promote I got my daughter giving analysis with me. 1 year old, she's doing analysis while she's growing up. So coming back to the topic, I think we really have to embrace a better knowledge and understanding of our scriptures, even if we decide to disagree with them, which the freedom our dharma offers us. So I think that was my analysis.
That's great. So let me read a comment we got from Archana Kumarji. She says that it was a pleasant experience to attend the HinduPACT webinar yesterday. Ajay ji, Utsav ji, Rakhi ji, and the whole HinduPACT team organized the event. We were not the only ones. There were a lot of other people: Renu ji, Jay ji, Raj Manglik ji, Amul Tyagi ji, the whole long list of people. Vishakha ji, of course, was critical part of it. So all of these people, and they were did an enormous amount of work. We were, in some ways, we were the face of it. And she goes on and says, panelists invited were from a wide spectrum of the US system, as well as amazingly having deep roots of in Hindu values, beliefs and culture, no matter whether you're from the first generation or second generation person like Rick or Vindhya ji. Speaking of which, Utsada, let me share some of the comments that Vindhya Adapa made and get your views on that. She was very articulate. I was really impressed with the way she presented the issues. So let's give an overview and get your comments on what Vindhya said.
Ji, Jay Bansal Ji, Jay Ji, everyone, Utsav Ji, everyone who's part of HinduPACT for organizing this event and for having me here. And before I start, I just want to say I hope everyone has also stayed happy, healthy, and safe during these crazy times. I wanted to start my talk today by first telling you about a small story about a gentleman I met a few years ago who had a deep impact on my life and who gave me newfound perspective on what it means to be a civically engaged Hindu American. So I'm going to change the name here for privacy's sake, and I'm going to call him Sanjay. Sanjay is a Pakistani Hindu. I met Sanjay a couple of years ago at an event, and he's a Pakistani Hindu activist. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and when I sat down with him to talk, I really was not prepared for what I was about to hear in our following 2-hour conversation. For the next 2 hours, Sanjay sat with me and bit by bit, detail by detail, talked about every act of discrimination, all of the atrocities and all of the horrors that he and his family faced in Pakistan solely because of being minorities and solely because of the fact that Sanjay is a Pakistani Hindu activist and a vocal activist who actually speaks on behalf of minorities in Pakistan. A couple of years after meeting Sanjay, I had the privilege of meeting another Bangladeshi Hindu activist who more or less told me similar things about her life in Bangladesh. Now, at the time of meeting these two individuals, I was actually Assistant General Counsel at HIAS, which is the world's oldest refugee resettlement agency, and it's a Jewish agency. Because of my connections and because of folks I knew on our direct legal team, I was able to help Sanjay and this woman get access to our attorneys and at least start exploring options for asylum in the United States. But I was so shook internally and a bit disturbed. I thought to myself, how is it that me, being an attorney, working in this space, that I don't know enough about this issue? Sure, I knew about the migration and refugee crisis generally. I knew a lot about what was happening in South and Central America. I knew a lot about the Rohingya issue. But I truly did not know enough, I felt, about what Hindu refugees and dharmic minorities were facing in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. I sat down with myself, and that's when I realized that in order to be a great advocate, you need to have genuine conviction in your heart. And I think there are 3 ingredients for having conviction, in my personal viewpoint. I think conviction stems from 3 different accesses of connection. The first is an emotional connection, having an emotional connection to an inner belief inside of you about that issue. The second is having the connection of relevance and feeling like this issue matters to you, that it's practical and matters to you. And third, the third form of connection, I think, is having knowledge of the past and of your history, because it's by looking through the lens of the past that we're able to apply those lessons to the present and learn how we're going to address the present now, address these issues now.
So, of course, in interest of time, we will stop here. But she was very articulate, and she brought up the global Hindu issues in a way that can be relatable to those who are growing up in America. And I think the way she presented and narrated her personal experience with the refugee from Pakistan and a refugee from Bangladesh, and the way she connected it with what is happening in America today, I thought it was very powerful. I'd love to get your comments on that.
So firstly, I would say that, amongst all the speakers who were very well spoken and very erudite, if I found myself completely on the same in complete congruency with the kind of approach that Vindhya had and the place where she was coming from. It's the same place where I myself come from, even though I was born in India and I came here in my grad school after my undergrad. But I find so much congruency in what she said. And ironically, it's sad that in the messaging she brought about how when she was working with the Jewish refugee settlement group called HIAS, she interacted with these two Hindu refugees. And incidentally, both of them are very close friends of mine. I'm not going to name them either because a lot of people may know who they are, and that's why Vindhya also didn't name them. But person she called Sanjay is another person who I was in touch with for about 8 years before he decided to seek asylum in America. And the other woman from Bangladesh who she mentioned is also somebody I have known very, very closely over the last 10 years or so. So, both of these people are very well known to me. And the saddest, and here's the irony of the whole conversation that Vindhya mentioned, there was no Hindu organization to help them. That's the saddest part. I mean, even Vindhya herself was working with the Jewish group that was helping resettle and helping out these two Hindu refugees. But it is sad, and this is where HinduPACT is so critical. We did not have any Hindu organization where we could go to seek help for these two individuals. And that was probably the part, Vindhya didn't mention that, but that's the part that makes me the saddest. And that's why throughout the evening, I was myself so adamant in ensuring that people, especially the young Hindu Americans, know that there are millions of Hindus around the world who are as underprivileged or way more underprivileged than the causes that these people support in America. And they need their help. They need their voice. And they are underprivileged because they are Hindus in many of these places. You go to Afghanistan, you go to Pakistan, you go to Bangladesh, Malaysia, you name it. These people are really discriminated against. They are treated as third-class citizens, sometimes under government support. And these people need voice. And they are in millions. I can in an ad hoc manner, I can add up to at least 30 million people around the world. That's not a small number. So every time you see, one of these young Hindus who goes out and rightfully so sometimes talking about the rights of the African Americans, who deserve to be talked about, it is important that we tell them that there are Hindus in America as well, in around the world as well, who need their voice. And nobody is better placed to give that voice than these young Hindus in America. And that's what I think India was very, very aggressively pushing. And I think that's what HinduPACT would like to share with the rest of the American community.
Yeah, also a really good point. I think when Hindus, as you correctly said, when Hindus in America, Hindu youth in America, start relating to and correlating rather the condition of Hindus around the world with the conditions and the challenges that some of the communities in America have historically faced. When they make that connection, they will see the things in perspective in terms of what the Hindu history has been, what the condition of Hindus in countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, or even in Kashmir for that matter, how Hindus have been treated and mistreated in these countries, and then they get and historically how they have been wiped out of the countries like so for example Afghanistan, where there are hardly any Hindus left in Afghanistan. Increasingly there are no Hindus left, and just last week there was a village in Pakistan where they converted 22 Hindu families by force, fraud, or inducement, whichever way you want to look at it, and increase so these are the kinds of when Hindu youth who's growing up in America, who has no context of the current and present suffering of Hindus in around the world, and how it is related to, it's a continuum of a story of how Hindus have been maligned in America today, and and how the communities that have been disadvantaged in America, how their challenges are similar. When you look at all of this holistically, then you realize that what the that the Hindu community today and the historically disadvantaged communities in America today have very similar history, whether it is related to slavery, whether it is related to genocide, whether it is related to economic deprivation for centuries. The very common themes here. And not only that, the people who disadvantaged them, the people who put them in a situation, who colonized them, or people who took them as slaves, some of the same people. But the Hindu youth of today don't know about it. And I think one of the things that HinduPACT needs to do is to really make this connection explicit. And I think that's what Vindhya was trying to say.
Not just that's the part I would make 2 points, Ajay, because we are going to run out of time in the next 5 minutes. So I'll just make 2 points about this. Not only does the Hindu youth not know about the shared tragedies and the disadvantages that we have faced over the past 1,000 years and continue to face in many parts of the world, but in fact, they are brainwashed. And I use this word brainwashed very carefully. They are brainwashed to think the exact opposite. In fact, many Hindus in America, youth in America, grow up believing that they are white privileged. They are privileged, and they were the people who were the colonizers. So it's really sad and unfortunate at the same time. And the second point I wanted to make tonight was that Hindus really need to think beyond some of the congruency that we have and we have learned from the Jewish experience. So in that entire evening, including in Vindhya's speech, rightfully, she pointed out to the example of the Jewish community and the way it has held itself together through these tragedies that they have gone through for the past many thousand years, and including the Holocaust. And this is a good model to look at. But Hindus have to understand that Judaism is still a sister religion to Christianity and Islam at a very core theological level. And there is an acceptance, especially in the Western world, post-industrial revolution, post-World War II Western world, there is a sense of acceptance and regret in support of the real sufferings that the Jewish community went through. And that is something that has helped them share their stories and put forward their narrative much more convincingly. Hindus have not been able to build that. And nobody in this world actually cares about the Hindus to that degree. Well, so that is, I think, something we have to work on.
And not only that, right, Utsoda, in International Human Rights Week, we talked about it last week, when the United Nations passes a resolution about religious persecution, all the dharmic faiths are completely ignored. And so that really makes your point. So now let me pivot and go back to the last presentation. And that was really, we are so privileged to have Rick Mehta, one of the first, I think he was the first Hindu American to actually have won the primaries, the Republican primary, and actually went on to get 40% of the popular vote in the state of New Jersey for the Senate election, statewide office. And we're very proud of him. We're really glad that he was able to join us. And here is what he had to say as a first-hand experience of a candidate who actually ran as a nominee of a major party from the state of New Jersey. Rick Mehta, from a Republican candidate for Senate from New Jersey.
Just start out by saying thank you for the invitation to be here. It's such an honor. And Rocky, thank you for those kind introductory remarks. Jay, for the invite. And of course, the HinduPACT, which I think is doing an amazing job at really collating some of our values into one organization, of which I think will serve politicians and future politicians really well. So it's an honor to be here. For those of you I've not met, I'm Rick Mehta, and my wife Rima and I, we're both first-generation Americans. We live in New Jersey, and as Rocky mentioned, we got our 3 little boys and our dog Dexter. Our story is like a lot of Hindus in America: humble beginnings, hard work, and the belief that the American dream is available to anyone willing to chase it. 50 years ago, my father immigrated here legally with only $100 in his pocket. My mother also, she worked 2 jobs and she managed the household. Their hard work and sacrifice and their strong conviction in religion paved the way for me and my sister to achieve things they could not have imagined. In fact, my sister is an allergy immunologist, and I'd say maybe the smarter one in our family. I graduated, as Rocky mentioned, from Rutgers College of Pharmacy and worked at the hospital. I worked overnight to put myself through law school. Now I'm a law professor at Georgetown University where I teach health law. While I'm not a politician, for more than a year, I've had the honor of campaigning for one of New Jersey's highest offices and being the US Senate nominee for the Republican Party. And more importantly, I got to be the voice for so many great people across New Jersey and honored to have received almost 1.9 million votes. I heard our people's stories. I felt our community's pain. I've seen our struggle. Our collective strength and resolve will drive us to fight back against all odds and to never give up, no matter how difficult the challenges we face. For me, I will always continue to stand with the amazing folks I've met during my campaign, and I will always champion small businesses and religious freedoms, which are not only the backbone of our nation's economy, but the pathway to achieve the American dream that so many of us have achieved here. I heard Preeti earlier in this program mentioned about the GDP and household income of Hindu Americans, and it's quite impressive. For me, Hindu values continue to serve aspiring politicians like myself, even in our political pursuits in America. For example, we must not let personal ambitions overshadow the greater good. Politicians hold an important and influential role in our lives, and we must aspire to hold those values that we believe in true. So when we fight, we do it with good policy, not provocation. And we fight to make sure our values are respected and advanced. And so while the pandemic has us concerned, mental health and unemployment issues continue to rise, I remain optimistic for a brighter future and the ability to face the real challenges that lay ahead in the coming months. Hindu Dharma can guide our values as American politicians, and the freedom of religion and the right to fellowship and worship should never be infringed. When I launched my campaign, my policy platform was based on one tenet: nonviolence. Make no mistake, I support our Bill of Rights and our Second Amendment, but I also see no place for violence in our society. Listen, I'm proud to have been the first Republican of color ever nominated for the US Senate in New Jersey. New Jersey is only second to California with the second number of most Indians in America. It's my hope that my race, my accomplishment, will inspire our next generation to enter public life and be part of the political process. Aspire to protect our religious freedoms that America holds true. And I'm going to continue to reach beyond my party's traditional base to non-traditional, conservative communities, minorities, young people, people who love America and who want a stronger, safer, and a more united America under God with freedom of religion. So thank you so much for having me. I look forward to answering questions on this panel and continuing to.
So a strong voice for Hindu participation in the political process. Any brief comments before we move on to the Hindu Phobe of the Week segment and the Hindu Seva Act of the Week segment? I think he really made really good points.
Absolutely. He made wonderful points. And not just that, I think it was very, very refreshing to hear the word Hindu Dharma coming out of the lips of an actual political candidate in American politics. The so-called Hindus who usually participate, and most of them usually are Indian immigrants who participate in American politics, barely utter the word Hindu Dharma once they get into the political arena. So it was a refreshing thought from Rick, and I wish him, and all people in the Hindu community wish him success for his career ahead, not just in politics, but for all the things he is pursuing. So I think it was very, very well put by him, and it highlights the need for the young Hindu Americans to pursue politics as Hindus with strong Hindu values in place. So I think that was very well put by him.
Absolutely. So that brings me to the Hindu Seva Act of the Week. And I do want to, I don't want to say that we did this last week and we're going to do it again this week. We're going to nominate us, HinduPACT, as the Seva Act of the Week, because we are in the fundraising season. As the end of the year draws closer, the taxes are likely to go up next year. Whatever you put in, and some of the for some of the advantages of donations may go away. Regardless, I mean, regardless of what happens to the tax code, regardless of what happens anywhere else, from all these talks, you have seen that there's an acute need of supporting Hindu advocacy in America. And we would really like you to help HinduPACT. To donate to HinduPACT, please go to HinduPACT.org and then click on the donate button, which is right on top. Utsada, you've been an advocate of professionally run Hindu advocacy, and there's no better advocate for that than you are. So while I show the screen where we are soliciting donation, I would like you to make a case for professionalism in Hindu advocacy.
Well, thank you, Ajubai. And I have been a strong proponent of professional advocacy, especially in America, because America is a country, and the environment here is such. It is a country of professionals. It is a country of where expertise is rewarded, and for us Hindus to be successful in this aspect, we have to do it professionally. There are very few Hindu organizations out there who are able to do it. HinduPACT is the organization that wants to do it. We need your support. We need your resources. We need your. Otherwise, we won't be able to do this. We can continue to fret and worry and really complain about the direction we are heading. We can continue to see our youth, our future generations, our dharma get degraded, misguided, and misrepresented. But we can do nothing about it, because those who are, and I say this again with a lot of thought, there are people and organizations out there and that are putting millions of dollars into simply targeting Hindus. That's as simple as that. And you have to fight that with equal amount of resource. We are already behind by about 10 to 12 years. And we have to understand that if we do not put in the money where our mouth is at this point, we may be in an unrecoverable spin, so to speak, from which we will never be able to recover. And if Hindu Americans become ineffective as a voice globally, then all the 20 million Hindus or so I was talking about around the world, 30 million Hindus around the world who are living outside India, which is in itself a country of close to 1 billion Hindus, those 30 million Hindus will not have a single person to talk about. Because India cannot talk about Hindus in Malaysia or Pakistan or Bangladesh. It is not equipped to do so. India itself is in serious trouble when it comes to the Hindu community and its future. So American Hindus have that ability. America is the most powerful country in the world. It has the biggest bully pulpit. It has the loudest voice. And American Hindus, all 6 million of us, can be that voice for the entire Hindu community globally, and for the young Americans who are born Hindus and who are embracing Hindu Dharma in America. So if you really believe that Hindu Dharma has something to offer to this world for the next 100 years and the next 1,000 years after that, and you really believe that we owe it to the past 7,000 years of our ancestors to carry forward this amazing set of philosophies and the best dharma that is out there in the world, then you need to put your money where your mouth is. And this is why we are here, and we are probably a small cog in this wheel, but this wheel will collapse if we don't exist. So we need your support, we need your money. That's as simple as that.
That was so well put. So and for people who would like to donate to HinduPACT, please go to HinduPACT.org, and here is the button that says donate. Click on the donate button and it will take you to the Hindu Advocacy Fund, and you can just make your contribution. You can donate monthly, you can donate yearly, you can do a one-time donation, and please be generous in donating to HinduPACT. We can really use a professional Hindu advocacy organization in America, and HinduPACT aspires to be one. So that with that we come to the final segment, and that is that is the Hindu phobe of the week. And we have picked the streaming services in past, and I'd like to pick Netflix one more time and all the streaming services one more time, because look at this news item. Now, there's this Netflix has a show that is coming out soon, and they have an actor from South India whose name is Dhanush, and he put a Twitter post saying that that he would be joining the cast of The Gray Man, starring Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. And so he put out a post, and he just said, that he's elated to join the show, that he's joining The Gray Man, and all of that. And then at the end, he said, love you all, spread love, Om Namah Shivaya. Right? What do you think people like Netflix do out in this situation? Of course, they edit out Om Namah Shivaya. Everything else is fine, but no Om Namah Shivaya. Would they do that so that to anyone else who is not a Hindu? So they just basically stopped it as love you all and spread love, and that's it. There's no mention. And not just them, right? So it's not just Netflix. I should mention that it is Deccan Herald. I'm sorry, the Deccan Herald. Love you all, spread love, no Om Namah Shivaya. News 18. Love you all, spread love, no Om Namah Shivaya. And so this is the state of affairs where it comes to major media, mass media, where anything you mention the word Hindu, and it is taken out. Utsada, with that, I want to end, but I want to have one more last minute of this. Utsada, this was the week, and I should have started with this, and I don't know why I didn't, but this is the week where we actually unveiled a new logo for HinduLounge, right? And we never talked about it. We actually have a new logo, and you know what we're going to do, so that we'll start next week. Do you want to show it today, or you want to start the next week's show with the reveal of HinduLounge logo?
I think we should reveal it today. I think we should reveal it today, and next week we should start with it. So that way, people who are watching us today can end with the vision of the beautiful logo that has come up.
I think you are right. So after 34 weeks, we finally, after going through a lot of temporary logos that we just kind of put together in PowerPoint, we now have a logo for HinduLounge, and here it is. So for all of you who have supported us all through the years, this is the new logo for HinduLounge, and you can see that the quadrant of our four major initiatives in the area of advocacy is complete. We have American Hindus Against Defamation for all the defamation related issues. We have HinduPACT for all the Hindu advocacy issues in the public arena. We have Hindu Vote. Hindu Vote is our voting rights and engagement in the electoral process initiative. And then this particular show, HinduLounge, with a brand new logo where you can be relaxed, take a cup of coffee, like I have here, and you sit with a cup of coffee, you join us every Sunday morning and spend time with Maya Durga and Utsav Chakrabarti, and then I just hang around. So thank you very much to everyone. And Utsav, final words before we close it out.
Well, I like the logo. It's very, very nicely done, and congratulations to the graphic designer. And I think we are in this for the long haul. And everybody who listens to us, who watches the show, thank you for joining us. And yes, just sit with a cup of coffee Sunday morning and hear us talk about what's going on. I just wanted to make one comment on the Netflix removal of Om Namah Shivaya. You know, it is the same Netflix that actually also hosts a show called Erdogul Ghazi, which basically is a show of the Turkish the founder of the Turkish Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
And how Islam, it's basically a radical Islamist show. Erdogul Ghazi, the word Ghazi itself has a meaning that people should look up what it actually means. So it is the same Netflix that hosts a popular show like Erdogul Ghazi that removes Om Namah Shivaya from. So that shows the discrepancy and the double standard and literally Hindu hate that comes from corporate mainstream outlets like Netflix, and it is so normalized that we can't even, it's a long journey to even begin talking about it. So that's what we are dealing with, and I would leave people to think about it, and we go from here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Utsada, once again for a very engaging week of conversation. I thank Mahendra Sapaji, who also joined us and complimented us. And I want to thank everyone who has supported us for 34 weeks. Utsada, we would be, I think for next couple of weeks, we have a holiday schedule, which we will be announcing on our Facebook and Facebook page. So please look out for it. We will be following the, we'll be following a somewhat different schedule during the holidays. With that, Utsada, thank you once again. And thank you for joining, and thanks to Maya Durga for joining, and to all our viewers. Once again, this is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is a presentation of HinduPACT, which is a policy research and advocacy initiative of World Hindu Council of America, VHPA. With that, with Utsav Chakrabarti, I am Ajay Shah. Thank you for joining us. Happy holidays to everyone, and we'll see you again. Namaste.
Namaste, and namaste from Maya Durga as well. She does namaste too, as you can see here. She's a kid who was born right before COVID started. She's a 1-year-old, and this is all she knows. She knows to sit in front of a Zoom call and talk to people. And I hopefully she'll do better analysis than I do by the time she grows up and becomes the vanguard of Hindu outreach in America.
I think you're in for an early retirement. I think in next 3-4 years she'll take over your job, and you can retire.
I would be happy to do that. And she's smarter than me. She got half of her mom's genes as well. So she's going to do better than I do.
I think you'll have to probably go back to architecture or something.
Yeah, I'll have to go back to designing buildings.
There you go. All right, Utsada. Namaste, and thank you again.
Thank you. Namaste, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye.